the most powerful being in creation. The king who rules the sky and every god beneath it is afraid, not of an army of one prisoner chained to a rock at the edge of the world. This is the story the Greeks told about defiance, the day a god looked the ruler of the universe in the eye and refused to kneel, and what it cost him. It begins at the far edge of the earth, in a wilderness no mortal foot has ever crossed, bare gray cliffs, a screaming wind, and below nothing but sky. 3 figures climb the rock, dragging a fourth between them. 2 are Zeus's enforcers, might and force, faceless, armored, without pity. The third walks behind them, weeping. The weeping one is Hephaestus, the smith of the gods. In his hands are chains he forged himself, and a hammer he does not want to lift. Between the enforcers walks the prisoner, Prometheus, the titan called Forethought, who once stood at Zeus's side and helped him win the war for heaven. Now he is the enemy. Bind him, might commands. Drive the wedge through. Let him learn that no one outwits the mind of Zeus. Hephaestus hesitates, sick at what he must do. He is my kin, the smith pleads, a god like us. But there is no mercy in the order and no choice. To defy Zeus is to share the rock. So the hammer falls. Iron bands close around the titan's wrists, his chest, his ankles. A spike is driven through, pinning him to the living stone. Through all of it, Prometheus says nothing. He does not beg. He does not cry out. He endures the nails in silence, his jaw set, his eyes fixed on some far horizon. The work is done. Might sneers a last taunt, stay here and rot, and the 3 depart, leaving the titan alone with the wind and the empty sky. Only now, when no god can hear him, does Prometheus speak, and he does not speak to them. He speaks to the world itself. O bright air, swift winds, rivers, and the countless laughter of the sea, earth, and the all-seeing sun, look on me. See what a god suffers at the hands of gods. Why is he here? Not for murder, not for treason in any war. Prometheus is chained for a stranger crime. He loved the human race too much. When Zeus rose to power, he looked at mankind, weak, shivering, scratching in the dirt, and he was not impressed. He planned to wipe the species away and start again. One god stood between humanity and erasure. Prometheus had shaped men from river clay in the image of the gods, and he would not watch them destroyed. So he defied the new king. When Zeus hid fire from mortals to keep them as beasts, Prometheus stole a single ember and carried it down to earth. He hid the spark in a hollow fennel stalk, smuggled it past the gates of heaven, and pressed it into human hands. And the dark world began everywhere to glow. But understand what fire really meant. It was never only warmth or a flame to cook by. Fire was the first key, and behind it lay every door humanity would ever open. Listen to what the Titan claims he gave. Before him, men lived in sunless caves like swarming ants, blind to the meaning of all they saw. He taught them to see. He showed them how to read the sky, the risings and settings of the stars, so they could mark the seasons, the time to plow and the time to reap. He gave them number, cleverest of inventions, and the joining of letters into words, writing, the memory of all things, the mother of the arts. He yoked the ox and tamed the horse to carry the weight off human backs. He built the first ships, the linen wings that carry men across the sea. He taught them medicine, to mix healing drugs against disease, and the reading of dreams and omens and the flight of birds to glimpse what is to come. And he showed them the treasures hidden under the earth. Bronze, iron, silver, gold, every art that mortals have, he says, came from Prometheus. In one Titan's gift was the whole human climb, from frightened animals in the dark to builders of cities, ships, and song. He did not light a campfire. He lit civilization. And here's the thing that should not make sense. Prometheus is forethought. He sees what is coming. He knew, before he ever touched the fire, exactly what it would cost him. He saw this rock. He saw the chains. He saw the long ages of pain stretching ahead, and he gave us fire anyway. That is not a thief. That is a sacrifice. But the king of the gods is not safe, because the prisoner on the rock knows one more thing, a single secret that could bring Zeus's whole reign crashing down. Prometheus is not left entirely alone. The first to come are gentle, the daughters of Oceanus, sea nymphs who heard the ring of the hammer carried on the wind. They drift to the cliff on the air, weeping at the sight of him. To see a god chained and bleeding shakes the order of the world. Even the rocks, they say, should mourn. They beg him to be gentler with his words, to stop provoking the king who holds all the power. But grief has not made Prometheus cautious. It has made him certain. Yes, it is hard, he tells them, to pour my pain into speech, and hard to keep silent. Either way, I suffer. But I will not flatter the power that wronged me. Then comes a greater visitor, riding the wind on a vast winged steed, Oceanus himself, the ancient titan of the sea, Prometheus's own kinsman, his face heavy with worry. Oceanus has come to help, but his help has a price. Know yourself, he urges. Take on new ways. A new king rules the gods. Bend a little, and I will plead for you. Stop kicking against the goad, the old titan says. Soften that proud tongue. I will go to Zeus myself and beg for your release. Only let me find you willing to be freed. It is a real offer of rescue. All Prometheus has to do is bow his head, say he was wrong, and let his powerful kinsman buy his freedom. And he refuses. He refuses for two reasons. The first is love. If Oceanus speaks for a rebel, Zeus will turn on him too, and Prometheus will not drag his kin onto the rock beside him. Go home, he tells him gently. Do not bring this suffering on yourself for my sake. Sorrowful and helpless, the old sea titan turns his steed and flies away. The second reason is harder, and it is the heart of him. Prometheus will not say he was wrong, because he was not wrong. To kneel would be to call the gift a crime. And then across that empty wilderness, something comes running, not a god, not a nymph, but a girl half wild, driven before an invisible terror, crying out as she runs. She has small white horns curving from her brow. Her name is Io, and once she was a princess, beautiful and ordinary, until the king of the gods looked down and wanted her. Zeus's desire became Io's curse. To hide her, she was turned into a horned heifer maiden. To punish her, Hera set a stinging gadfly to chase her across the whole earth without rest. She has run through countless lands, mad with pain, sleeping nowhere, belonging nowhere, and now she stumbles on a chained titan at the world's edge, two victims of the same king. Who are you? She gasps. Who speaks my name and knows my grief? And Prometheus, who sees all things to come, becomes for a moment not a sufferer but a prophet. He tells her the truth she dreads. Her wandering is not over. There are more lands, more rivers, more years of the gadfly's sting ahead before she finds any peace. But he does not leave her in despair. Far away in Egypt, he says, Zeus will calm her at last. With a single touch of his hand, he will restore her to herself. There she will bear a son, and from that son a great line of kings and heroes will descend, spreading across the world through all the generations to come. And then Prometheus says the thing that matters most, to her and to himself. From her bloodline far in the future, one descendant will be born mightier than all the rest. 13 generations on, a hero of her line will come to this very rock, and he will be the one to break these chains and set the Titan free. He does not speak the name, but the Greeks knew it. Heracles, the greatest mortal hero, was coming far off but certain. Even here, at the bottom of suffering, Prometheus can see a door. A strange comfort, the chained prophet consoling the maddened girl, two of the powerless sharing the one thing tyranny cannot take, the knowledge that none of it lasts forever. Then the gadfly stings again. Io screams, her vision goes red, and she bolts back into the wilderness, running, swallowed by the horizon, and Prometheus is alone once more. But the conversation with Io has let something slip, a hint of the secret. And on Olympus, the king hears of it, and the king is afraid, so he sends his messenger. Down from the bright sky comes Hermes, winged sandals, winged cap, the smooth servant of the throne, and there is no pity in him, only command. The father orders you to speak, Hermes says. This marriage you boast of, the one that will cast him from power, name it. Tell who threatens his throne and spare yourself. Here it is, the secret at the center of everything. Prometheus alone knows of a union fated to produce a son greater than his father, a child who would overthrow the one who sired him. And Zeus, who overthrew his father Cronus, as Cronus overthrew Uranus, knows exactly how that story ends. He is walking toward the same trap, and only Prometheus knows where it lies. One word would buy the Titan's freedom. He has only to name the danger, and the king who fears him would unchain him in gratitude. Hermes waits for that word. It does not come. There is no torture, Prometheus answers. No force, no scheme by which Zeus will make me speak until he loosens these outrageous chains. Let him hurl what he will. You are mad, Hermes warns. If you will not bend, know what comes. Zeus will split this crag with thunder and bury you in the rock for ages in the dark. And when you return to the light, his eagle will come. Each day it will tear you open and feast on your liver. Each night the wound heals whole, so the agony never ever ends. It is the cruelest threat in all the myths, and Prometheus does not flinch. I knew all this, he says. There is nothing here Zeus can do to me that I did not foresee. Let him do his worst. Let the curling lightning fall. Let the whole world be shaken to its roots. None of it will kill me, and none of it will make me kneel. Hermes withdraws. The sea nymphs, given a last chance to flee, choose instead to stay beside the Titan and share whatever falls, and then the sky breaks open. Thunder rolls without end. The earth heaves. Lightning splits the air. The wind howls from every quarter at once, and the great rock cracks down its spine. And with a last cry, not of fear, but of witness, see what wrong I suffer. Prometheus, rock and chains and all, is swallowed into the abyss, and the world goes dark. That is where the great tragedy ends. Not with rescue, but with a god cast into the dark for refusing to bow. And yet it is not quite the end of the story. For the prophecy stands far off. The 13th descendant of a wandering girl will climb to a rock in the Caucasus, draw a great bow, and shoot the eagle from the sky. Heracles will break the chains. Prometheus, freed at last, will trade his secret for his life. And Zeus, warned, will marry the fated bride to a mortal instead. Their son will be Achilles, greater than his father, the prophecy fulfilled, and harmlessly, because one chained prisoner held his silence until the world was ready. So who won? The king kept his throne, but the Titan kept something the king never had. He was never owned, chained, tortured, buried. Prometheus was the freest being in the story. That is why he never dies in our imagination. Every figure who suffers for others, who defies an unjust power and will not recant, is his descendant, the rebel with a conscience. The Greeks built that figure first on a bare rock at the edge of the world and called him Forethought, the one who saw the cost of compassion and paid it without regret. Because the oldest myths are never really about gods on mountains. They are about us. The fire we were given, the price someone paid for it, and what we are willing to suffer for what we love. Thank you for watching. If this tale stayed with you, subscribe. A new myth arrives every week, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Until then, may the old stories keep their hold on you.